Part 1. The price nobody tells you about. Everyone talks about what success gives you. The money, the freedom, the respect. But nobody sits you down and says, hey, there's a tax on all of this. A real one, paid not in dollars, but in comfort, familiarity, and the life you used to know. Every time you level up, something gets left behind. And the higher you climb, the steeper the tax becomes. This series is about that price, and why, despite everything it costs you, paying it is the greatest decision you'll ever make. Everyone sees the top of the staircase. Nobody shows you what it costs to climb it. Success begins the moment you let go of what's familiar. Every gain has an entry fee, and it's always paid in comfort. When you decide to grow, the world doesn't pause. It just stops making sense the same way it used to. Here's the bill nobody hands you when you decide to become more. The gap between where you are and where you want to be, that's not just distance. That's the cost of admission. Transformation isn't beautiful in the middle. It's violent, uncomfortable, and completely necessary. Every move toward the top requires you to sacrifice something that was protecting you. The hardest part of becoming someone new is grieving who you used to be. The view only exists up there, and the climb is the only way to earn it. Part 2. You lose your old friends. The first thing success taxes you on is your social circle. The people you grew up with, the crew you hung with, the friends who knew you when some of them won't make it with you to the next level. Not because they're bad people, not because you're better than them, but because growth changes your frequency, and not everyone vibrates at the same channel. You'll stop finding the same things funny. You'll stop tolerating the same conversations. And slowly, quietly, the distance will grow. This is one of the most painful parts of the success tax, and it's also one of the most misunderstood. You don't always see it happening. One day, you just realize you're fading out of the picture. The distance isn't always physical. Sometimes it's invisible, and that makes it harder. Some relationships can't handle the tension of one person growing and the other standing still. Some seats at the table stay empty. Not because you chose to lose them, because you chose to grow. It's not always a fight. Sometimes it's just silence, and silence is the loudest goodbye. Diverging doesn't mean one path is wrong. It just means yours is different. The milestones hit differently when the people you expected to be there aren't. You never stop valuing where you came from. You just can't always go back. Not everyone is meant to fly at the same altitude. Respect the flock, but don't ground yourself for it. Some goodbyes aren't endings. They're the universe making room for what's next. Part 3. You lose your identity. Nobody warns you that success will make you a stranger to yourself. The values you once swore by start to feel too small. The version of you that existed 5 years ago, their goals, their limits, their fears, you barely recognize that person anymore. And while growth is the goal, losing your sense of self is one of the most disorienting experiences a driven person can face. The success tax on identity is this. You must be willing to burn down who you were to become who you need to be. Repeatedly. Forever. The person staring back at you isn't always who you thought you were. Sometimes, it's who you're becoming. You're not one person. You're a series of people, each one outgrowing the last. Shedding your old self isn't loss. It's the most natural form of progress in existence. Sometimes you have to let the old story burn, so the new one has room to begin. Every level up demands that you audit everything you think you know about yourself. The scariest walk you'll ever take is the one between your old self and your future self. Identity isn't found. It's carved, and the process is loud, messy, and painful. At some point, who you were stops fitting. That's not a problem. That's a sign. When your identity shifts, you'll feel lost before you feel found. That's part of the process. You don't lose yourself on the way to success. You find yourself, but only after burning everything that wasn't real. Part 4. You lose your free time. Time is the currency of ambition, and the success tax is relentless about collecting it. When you decide to build something real, your evenings disappear first, and your weekends. Then the lazy Sunday mornings and the spontaneous trips and the binge-watching sessions that felt so innocent before. The grind is real, and it's not romantic. It's lonely and repetitive and unglamorous. But here's what the people at the top will tell you. The time they invested didn't vanish. It was converted into skill, into capital, into freedom they now have that the people who slept and never will. Every second you spend building is a second you're not spending resting. Know exactly what you're trading. The calendar of ambition looks nothing like the calendar of comfort. And that's the whole point. While everyone else sleeps, the builder works. Not because they have to, because they can't stop. FOMO is the toll booth between the life you want and the life everyone else is living. You're not losing your time. You're investing it. The return just hasn't posted yet. Same 24 hours. Different decisions. Different destinations. The hours no one sees are the ones that build everything everyone admires. Every goal you've ever had is on the other side of the time you haven't spent on it yet. You can't rush growth, but you can feed it consistently every single day until it towers. The freedom at the top isn't luck. It's every hour you chose work over rest, finally paying interest. Part 5. You lose your comfort with mediocrity. Here's a tax most people don't expect. Once you start growing, average becomes unbearable. Not in others, but in yourself. You lose the ability to be satisfied with good enough. You can't clock out mentally. You can't watch yourself shrink back into routines that don't serve you. Standards rise. Tolerance drops. And what used to feel fine now feels like a slow death. This is simultaneously the most powerful and the most uncomfortable gift that the climb gives you. Because once you've tasted what you're capable of, settling is no longer an option. The moment you taste real progress, average rewards start feeling like insults. When your baseline shifts, your old ceiling becomes your new floor. Standards don't stay static when you're growing. They compound. Mediocrity gets loud once you've decided it's not enough. Once you've flown, no cage will ever feel like safety again. You don't just raise your standards in business. You raise them in everything, and there's no going back. Winners don't celebrate the gap. They obsess over what's still missing. The hunger that comes with growth doesn't ask for permission. It just burns everything that doesn't measure up. Clearing out the ordinary is how you make space for the extraordinary. High standards aren't arrogance. They're the price of entry to a life most people only dream about. Part 6. You lose your fear of judgment and gain new critics. Early on, the fear of what people will think stops more dreams than failure ever will. But as you climb, something shifts. You stop fearing the crowd, and the crowd starts fearing your audacity. Your success becomes a mirror that others don't always want to look into. And so they criticize, they minimize, they whisper. The success tax here is this. You trade the approval of many for the respect of few. And learning to live without the applause of people who are never going to clap for you anyway. That's one of the most liberating payments you'll ever make. It's not about filling the stadium. It's about finding the people who actually showed up. The critics multiply as you rise. Let them. It means you're visible. Some things need to be burned to give you clarity. Others' opinions about your potential top the list. Eagles don't lose altitude worrying about the birds that can't fly as high. Scroll past the noise. One real voice always cuts through the crowd. When you know your worth, the pack can circle. It changes nothing about where you're going. 10 real believers are worth more than 10,000 indifferent applauders. The scars from critics aren't damage. They're proof you were brave enough to be in the arena. The best revenge is a framed, you'll never make it next to the proof that you did. The view at the top has no audience. Just you, the result, and the proof that it was worth it. Part 7. You lose the right to make excuses. Here's the most uncomfortable tax on this entire list. Once you decide to pursue something real, once you make that commitment, you lose the luxury of excuses. Not because circumstances disappear, not because the obstacles stop coming, but because you've drawn a line in the sand between who you were and who you're choosing to become. And the person on the other side of that line doesn't get to blame their parents, their city, their upbringing, their resources, or their timing. They get to own their results, the good ones and the hard ones. And that ownership, that's the foundation everything real is built on. At some point, you have to throw out every reason you've been carrying that isn't your fault, but is your problem. Radical accountability is seeing yourself clearly enough to stop hiding behind the story. Every morning you wake up, you choose one of two roads. Only one of them leads anywhere worth going. Replace every but with is so I will and watch your whole trajectory change. Responsibility is heavy. That's exactly why most people put it down. And exactly why you can't. Stop being the victim, the defense, and the witness. Start being the judge who moves forward regardless. Accountability doesn't mean the storm stops. It means you stop pretending someone else should steer. When you tattoo accountability into your identity, nothing can stop you, because nothing is anyone else's fault anymore. Scorecards don't care about your backstory. They only record what you actually did. When you own every result, good and bad, the whole game changes. Because now everything is within your control. Part 8. You lose your old relationship with money. Money changes you, not in the cliched, corrupt way people warn about, but in how you think, how you see time, how you value things. The success tax on your financial identity is steep. You'll stop spending unconsciously and start seeing every transaction as a trade. You'll become allergic to waste, wasted time, wasted effort, wasted capital. And you'll develop a relationship with risk that looks absolutely insane to the person you used to be. Money stops being something you earn. It becomes a tool. And learning to wield it is one of the most transformative shifts the climb demands. The moment you stop seeing money as a reward and start seeing it as a resource, everything changes. Every purchase is a vote. At some point, you start becoming very careful about what you're voting for. Success recalibrates your relationship with time and money simultaneously. They become the same currency. Calculated risk isn't gambling. It's just with money on the board. Wealth isn't stored. It's grown. And every dollar you plant is a conversation with your future self. Some financial habits have to die before the new chapter can begin. Let them burn. Wealthy people don't earn money. They architect it. One stream can be dammed. Rivers with multiple channels keep flowing no matter what. Every financial decision you make today is a conversation with the version of you 20 years from now. Financial mastery isn't about having the most money. It's about never being controlled by its absence. Part 9. You lose your need for permission. At some point in the climb, you stop waiting to be chosen. You stop waiting for someone to hand you the opportunity, validate your idea, approve your plan, or give you the green light. That need, deep, human, completely understandable, has to be taxed away. Because on the other side of waiting for permission is the raw, terrifying, electric freedom of deciding for yourself. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "You're ready now." The only permission that has ever mattered is the one you give yourself. And the moment you stop needing anyone else's, that's the moment you truly begin. The gate you've been waiting for someone to open, you've had the key the whole time. Stop waiting for royalty to assign your role. Take the seat that was always yours. The permission slip you've been waiting for, you're both the student and the teacher who signs it. Creation doesn't start after someone approves it. It starts when you decide to begin. If there's no door, build one. Waiting for openings is for people who don't know they can create them. You were trained to ask for permission. Unlearning it is one of the most powerful things you will ever do. The call that's going to give you permission, it's never coming. Stop waiting. The leap doesn't wait for a safe landing. It trusts the wings will work once the air gets under them. Write your own rules. Sign them. Lie by them. No one else's signature is required. The spotlight doesn't find the worthy. It belongs to whoever is bold enough to step into it. Part 10. Why every bit of it is worth it. Here's the truth that makes every payment worthwhile. The friends you lost made room for people who actually belong in your life. The identity you burned rebuilt stronger. The time you sacrificed compounded into freedom. The discomfort with mediocrity became the engine of your excellence. The critics sharpened your skin. The excuses you buried gave birth to the most powerful version of yourself. The old money mindset died so a builder could be born. And the permission you stopped waiting for unlocked a life you designed from scratch. The success tax is real. It's heavy. It's relentless. But every single thing it takes from you, it replaces with something more valuable than what you lost. And that, right there, is why you pay it. Every single time. You can see exactly what it costs from up here. And you'd pay every bit of it again. The ledger always balances. What you gave up and what you gained, the math always favors the climb. You didn't abandon who you were. You honored them by becoming everything they were reaching for. Everything that broke on the way here didn't diminish you. It became the art. The people who were meant to be here, they found you. Because you kept going long enough to be findable. Add it all up. Every sacrifice, every loss, every dark night. Then look at where you are. The receipt always reads worth it. You didn't just build a life. You lit something that will outlast you. And that's the whole point. Every door the success tax closes was never meant for you. The one in front of you, that one is yours. The child you were watching. Don't stop until you become everything they hoped was possible. This is what you paid for. Not the title, not the money. This, the freedom to become exactly who you were always supposed to be. Pay the tax. Every time, without hesitation.